Hello, fermented folks.
We have P. Jelly Clark.
All Makatsu.
We have Travis Baldry.
Today we have a really special guest, Leopoldo Gout.
Are you reeling it in and defending clowns?
I am.
Earth doesn't even exist in Battlestar Galactica.
This show me heartburn. I was like, I loves it, I hate it.
It's called All Fluff.
Oh!
If you didn't know how I actually feel about The Mandalorian,
Don't worry,
this is it right here.
Hello, fermented folks, and welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction. We're missing one today, so playing host roles is me, Travis. I will be playing both sides of the 5-minute break, so don't judge me too harshly. Clayton is helping with some family stuff, and it's Jeremy and I hosting the show. And with us is short story author, and hopefully I got some good stuff represented for you there in the banner, Melissa Leigh. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Of course. Thank you for joining. As usual, people, we're going to bring in with just some life updates, and we're going to end with you, Melissa, and have you kind of tell us more about who you are, what your stories are, and all of that jazz. You know, the whole promotional thing, which I'm learning by having the brother that I have, that is so much of an author's career is just like selling yourself. And I respect y'all for doing that grind, because I would hate it, I think. So, you know,
Yeah, it's a very weird thing to let people know that you exist.
yeah. Yeah. I don't even like doing resumes because it's like, what are your talents? I'm like, I don't know. Do I have any? Like, don't make me talk about myself, please. But anyway, we're gonna make you talk about yourself, but that'll come after. First, Jeremy, what's been going on in your life since last time we had an episode?
Well, you know, so many things, but I think most recently, like many of you, I went through the 4th of July weekend and celebrated it, of course, in my own fashion. Travis, calm down. Actually, I don't know if you need to calm down about this one. I honestly don't know how you're going to feel. But see, one thing that me and my wife do regularly on the 4th of July is we have root beer floats. So it's such an American drink to have. And it's like, ooh, yeah, that's good shit right there. Now, sometimes, just sometimes, I like to take a pretty good whiskey and just pour it into my root beer float because I'm a grown-up. Now, Travis, is it emotionally distressing to you that this year it was a bottle of Eagle Rare? Keep in mind it wasn't the whole bottle.
You know, I think any other holiday it would be, but that's a very American to just take like a delicious bourbon and dump it in a sugary drink. I love that.
And honestly, it's hella good.
Hella good. It reminds me of in the menu, which we've talked about a couple times on this show. We mention it quite a bit when he gives the whole like rants about the schmore being like the worst thing that humanity has ever produced. Just,
God, what a movie!
But it's delicious, so who cares? I don't care. It's fine.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, nice.
There you
I like. My update, I pulled a Clayton and didn't really think about this at all.
Naturally.
And so I'm just going to pull something out of the hat. I mean, I also just got back from 4th of July. I got to go home. I've been going home weekly and working on the farm, and they're having open mat practices at my old high school wrestling team is. So I've been doing that going in, and there's been a guy who is still currently in college and is like an All-American, meaning he's placed at the national championships a couple times, coming in. And so it's been both bad and painful to like get my butt kicked a few times, because with the guys that I coach, I usually can beat them because they're just learning. But now I'm like wrestling during the summer this guy that is much better and much bigger. And so I go home in pain on Wednesdays, and it's delightful but also agonizing. So that's my weekly update. Yeah, he's got one more season. I don't know if I want to say his name. because I don't think he would want it advertised. But anyway, one more season. He's hopefully going to win it this year. Anyway, that's what I got. Melissa, can you tell the audience, the listeners, the viewers a little bit about who you are and maybe where they can find some of your stuff? And I am listening, but I have to multitask. So
no problem. Well, people can find out a lot about my work from mleestories.com or at mlee on Instagram and Facebook. I am a short story writer and a women's fiction writer, and I usually combine horror and women's fiction to talk about some pretty scary ladies. I also am on the board of the Pacific Northwest Writers Association. I've been there for several years. We actually just had our first huge fundraiser, so I am incredibly happy that is done. My life is going to get a lot more calm now after that big event is finished. I'm also on, I guess I'm the event coordinator for the Horror Writers Association here in Seattle, helping them kind of get places and doing cool stuff for all of our authors. And I'm also on Clay's other podcast, Beneath the Rain Shadow, where we give each other prompts and kind of critique those on air, which is a super, super fun thing if anybody's interested in the creative process. And, that's kind of all of my work stuff. Personally, tomorrow, my husband and I are going to be celebrating our 20th wedding anniversary. So that's really exciting. And
congratulations. That's a marker. 20 years. That's a marker.
20 years. It is a marker. And we're going to go out to dinner. And I'm curious how, 40-somethings deal with their anniversary. I don't know if we can drink the same way we used to, but maybe we'll try. We'll see.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I love it. Congratulations again.
Thanks.
All right. Well, now we have, as we call it, the meat and potatoes, the protein. It doesn't even have to be meat. The protein of your choice, whatever you want, the centerpiece of the plate, the debate. Okay. So for those of you who maybe haven't been here, the way we do this show is Melissa and I are the debaters today. We're going to roll D20s. Whoever rolls highest has to defend whatever we're talking about today, and whoever rolls lowest has to attack it, regardless of what we actually think. And today's subject is Mother of Flies, which is an indie horror film that was co-directed and produced and written by 3 people. Very fun. We're going to get to facts later, but the fun fact right off the bat is they're a family, a mother, father, and daughter who make movies together and also have a punk rock band with the other sibling. So that's pretty cool. Mother of Flies follows a young woman who's in college, has cancer, and hears about, no spoilers yet, but there will be spoilers later, hears about a witch named Selvig, right? Am I saying that right? Solvig in the woods of upstate New York, Catskills, and decides that she's going to go there with her father to see if the kind of magic of this forest witch can cure her cancer, because none of the chemo treatments or anything have worked. The father is naturally reluctant, and that is kind of the premise of the movie, and some body horror ensues. But we will talk more about that also for newcomers to the show during our debate and our post-debate discussion. We will spoil everything. So if you haven't watched Mother of Flies, you don't want it spoiled, go away.
Yeah.
Go watch it.
Because we're just not going to stop.
And then come back, and then you can be in on all the spoilers and stuff. So are you ready, Melissa, to roll? And Jeremy, do you have our timer?
Yes and yes.
Oh, yeah, you're rolling for Melissa. Okay. All right, ready?
Right.
Yes, please.
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Ooh,
that's something right there.
Uh-oh.
We rolled a hot, fresh, spicy, totally natural 2.
Oh.
Oh no.
I rolled a hot spice totally natural 19. So I think the curse is broken. I've been rolling low for a while, so that's good. I got a win on my belt. All right.
There we go, man.
You gotta win sometime. Yeah.
You have to argue against, and I have to argue for. I will start with the for position, and Jeremy will count us in whenever he is ready.
That's
Okay,
right.
how long is the debate for?
Oh,
You
sorry.
got 10 minutes all together, and sharing is caring. So Travis will open with his arguments, and then you will get to rebut and just have it out. Very
Nice.
few rules. Shots below the belt are encouraged, if not required. And we're gonna get it started in 3, 2, 1,
Got it.
go.
All right, folks. Mother of Flies. I already talked about one of the coolest things about this movie. It's family produced, written, directed, acted. Like, it's just a heartfelt little family project. Hard to say heartfelt though, because it's freaky. It's a freaky horror film, very body horror. And there's one thing that you're going to see that I 100% agree with and will build my case for this movie on. If you go to Rotten Tomatoes, if you go to IMDb and you look up the reviews of this and you look at the discrepancy between critics and fans, you're going to see two things. You're going to see fans are angry because they say it's slow. And you're going to see critics saying that doesn't matter. It's gorgeous. And I'm here to tell you the critics are 100% correct on this one. 97% on Rotten Tomatoes was totally earned. It is a beautifully dark film. The cinematography in this film is absolutely astounding, especially considering what we know that its budget was at least, or let me look here. Like, okay, little tangent here. Shudder does flat licensing fees, so they don't pay per view. They just pay right away. Like, for a set amount of time, you get this amount of money for your production, which I think is a pretty cool system. The highest we've known them to give, when you look it up, is around $50,000. I'd say this probably fell somewhere in the middle, because it had pretty good word of mouth when it came out. So I think they probably shelled out. My guess is going to be 20 grand for it, which is a tiny budget. And the way this movie looks, you would never know. Like, a shoestring budget, it is gorgeous. It looks just as good as many mainstream horror films you're ever going to see. The acting maybe could use a little work sometimes, but it's also got genuine emotion in the performances because these people are actually related. So when the father and the daughter are having these like beautiful moments of reminiscing about her childhood and thinking about these things, it's like, oh, I actually believe that they have true chemistry. Duh, because they are actually father and daughter. So those are my two starting points. Is it's gorgeous, and though the acting is sometimes stilted, more so than professionals would do, there's still like genuine heart to it and chemistry that you can sense the actual relation through the screen.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess I could say one of the things that I am grateful for was that it wasn't a found footage film, because in most in most of these movies where people are going deep into the woods and we don't really know what is going to happen, maybe they're searching for something is a bit sinister, it's usually a found footage film. So I think that I guess he could say this part was a little bit more unique because it goes towards like a traditional film. I would say that they do show the setting a lot of different shots of nature and moss and sticks and lakes and the tops of trees. And I think that would make a pretty good drinking game. Every time somebody sees something in nature, you take a shot. But, you know, I would say I understand that it was kind of a horror movie, but I feel like it was sort of an unbelievable plot in which, like, what the hell was wrong with the dad that he would just let his daughter go, you know, with this woman. You have no idea what she's going to do. We don't even know who she is. You know, there's no food, there's no bathroom, there's a bed of thorns. And, you know, he's just like, all right, cool. You know, let's see what happens here. So that part felt a little bit unbelievable. And, you know, we start right off with her. Do we really need to see like a naked woman having an orgy in like a roadkill pit? You know, first off, right off the bat, I don't know. I feel like, I know she's a necromancer, but that kind of felt a little bit off to me.
Yeah, that is a pretty rough first scene. But I think that was the intention. Like, we're set up with the body horror right away. And I'll tell you, I was like, I was hooked, you know? in the horrific sense. I was like, what the hell is going on? Where are we going with this? And there's the narration with the kind of poetic language behind that is going to be the through line of the whole thing.
Mhm.
And I don't know if I agree with the father thing, because like there's some establishing lines, which again, I give credit to this family for. They're indie directors and writers, and so maybe don't get the credit they deserve for doing some really excellent things with the production. And one of those was like steadily increasing the narrative tension of, you get early on these kind of little hints in the dialogue that she's a very independent college girl, that she's been dealing with this for a very long time, that he is actually sorry that he has put some of the burden on her because he couldn't handle it. We get that in the diner sequence when he's apologizing for the insurance stuff. And she's like, oh, don't worry about it. He's like, I just can't deal with the bureaucracy. And she's like, it's okay, I handled it, kind of thing. I love those little subtle lines that are like, we don't need the exposition. We just need enough to show us the dynamic there. And I think they do that to where it's like, I could understand why he was there and ignored all the red flags, because he's desperate, because you get the sense in this movie that they've tried everything. And this is it. This is the Hail Mary pass, which is ironic to use that language because this is not the Christian film. But anyway, they use this kind of like final effort to try and get rid of the affliction that's painting her. So I could see that more reasonably.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of feel, I don't know. I feel like the whole kind of plot was strange. It's just like, I know that she is supposed to be able to manipulate death, but then also, also kind of, again, spoiler, is that she also wants to have, a baby. And that's kind of how she died, was the townspeople didn't want her to have, this zombie baby, out of their baby, making a zombie baby and having it in the town. And that's eventually why, people killed her. And so I don't know. I just kind of, it's like a strange juxtaposition between, kind of how she can manipulate death, but yet she knows so much about life or wants life. And so that part, again, was a little bit confusing to me. Yeah.
I can see it get confusing. And my last kind of like positive point would probably be maybe one of the things that makes it a confusing film, but I found very cool, is that it is like poetry. And I don't think there's a lot of creators out there testing the limits of what film can do these days. There's a lot of people who play it safe. There are mainstream directors who certainly do. Clayton and I are both Robert Eggers stans. And I think he tests a lot of those limits of what you can do with the story and the visual medium. But I thought this was cool, of like testing the limits of what overlaid narration can be. And they certainly didn't do anything revolutionary, but it was cool to see it in like a small budget indie film, this sort of poetic narration that's not very clear, but is definitely giving a philosophical heart to the whole journey. And yes, there's a simplistic through line to the story, but like layered over that is this complex conversation about death that maybe people can lose. But I think when you really focus on the lines actually being said, it pulls you into the film deeper.
Or, is it complex poetry, or was it kind of pompous to kind of, have this kind of philosophical thing, like falling over it? Did it feel too telling, as they were just kind of telling us, like kind of shoving it, that life and death down our throat? Or I don't know. I don't know.
I definitely thought it fell more on the poetic, philosophical musing side, and seemed like it came out of conversations they've probably actually had, which is cool. Again, that feeling that like personal heart to it was really interesting and fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, my brother and I have been obsessed with movies and writing forever, so it's like cool to see people actually succeed at it in a family and be like, hey, maybe it can happen. Like, hey, they did it.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. I'm also kind of confused of how they found one another. I know that Solveig said that she reached out to Mickey and like Mickey heard her. But I'm like, out of all of the people, out of every dying person around, that part was the point wasn't necessarily, that part didn't land for me necessarily.
Why Mickey? Because she say she came to her in a dream?
Yeah, they met in a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she said she'd been laying there for centuries calling out, and then I got quiet, and that's when you heard me. So that part was a little bit confusing, but yeah.
You know, maybe it's just upstate New York radio, you know. She was just close enough. It was like sending out a radio signal, and this lady's like in Ithaca or something, and it's like, oh, witch.
Oh,
And we're done. Travis, shut up.
I'm done.
We're gonna all let it go. It's over. Good job, everyone. It was fantastic. Good job, everyone, all around.
All right.
Cheers.
And you've got right there what we go into next before we talk about our actual thoughts and the fun facts, which will be very short today because IMDb had no trivia. I relied too heavily on one website. I need to branch out.
Curses.
But anyway, I did find something a little bit. Jeremy, what did you just raise in your glass there? What's the drink of the week?
Well, hey, the drink of the week is kind of a variation on a drink called the Hunter, but the main thing I'm using in it is the black velvet that has been aging with my dad's whiskey stick for about a year. Because, you know, this movie should have been worse.
Wait, what's a whiskey stick?
Yeah, tell us.
So the whiskey stick, what that is well, during the process of making whiskey, while the whiskey is in the barrel, that it is considered aging. You know, it gets color and flavor from the wood, and so after you take it out of the barrel, it stops the aging process. What the whiskey stick does is it simulates that aging process, and it continues to develop the flavors of the whiskey. If you've had black velvet before, you'll know that it tastes like the color brown hates you. But you know, with one of those in there, this is pretty good stuff.
Not bad.
You know?
Okay, that's interesting. I was like,
You
whiskey.
can sip on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whiskey stick sounds kind of like a punishment of some kind. So
I'm gonna hit
Only
you
if
with
you're
this.
creative.
yeah.
Yeah. All right.
There you go.
We've been traveling a lot, my wife and I, and just me also by myself this summer, and the bottles of liquor have been moved around, and I think they were left somewhere else. So I don't have whiskey in my house that isn't
Oh, no.
the rye that I'm not allowed to open. So I'm just having straight mezcal.
Ooh,
And
that's
I-
actually, I
and
love
with
that.
the-
That's like my favorite drink.
There we go.
There you go, man.
Yeah. Well,
Melissa.
I looked all over the supermarket to have some kind of like witchy, like kind of themed wine. Like they have a wine that has Neil Patrick Harris's face on it, but they don't have a witch anywhere. So I found one that's like rooted. It's called Rooted,
Ooh.
and it kind of looks like the roots from the movie. So
That's
that's why I was like, all right,
Yeah.
I'll try that. It's from Chile. It's
That'll
not
flippin' do it.
it's not
Alright.
bad.
Not bad. Not bad. Is that a Mother of Flies shirt?
No, it looks like it though, but I got it at Crypticon. It's Finger Dukes. Let's see if I can. Finger Dukes are a printer out in Bremerton, and so I kind of have like a witchy lady on there.
So it's very
Lovely.
Mother of Flies-esque. Yes.
Very Mother of Flies-esque, very witchy-esque, which I wanted to wear tonight. So
I love it.
You're
Fit
doing
in.
great with the theming.
yeah, trying.
Roots and the witchy shirt.
Yep.
Melissa's got it.
Mhm.
All right.
Plus the fact that I'm a witch, so it's fine.
Sure.
4 fun facts. All right. I found an IndieWire interview with the Addams family, which I love their name, which is John Adams, who plays the father, Zelda Adams, who plays the daughter, and Toby Poser, who plays, I keep forgetting,
Solvig.
Solvig.
Yeah.
Solvig the witch. And I found a couple fun facts out of this. If anyone has any others, please let me know. But they actually had several experiences too so far with cancer. So a lot of the dialogue actually does come from reality and kind of their own musings about death that they've had and conversations they had in their family. When first John got it, let me make sure I'm saying this right. I think first John got it, a different kind than Toby, but then Toby had it for a bit. And they both beat it, but they figured out that Zelda, the daughter, has the same gene that caused Toby's. So they're kind of like anticipating that this is going to be a consistent family plague. And a lot of this struggling with cancer and with this conversation of death came out of that realization. And John stated, horror lets you talk about anything. You can talk about unorthodox subjects, disguise it in blood, and it's great. The horror community is very open-minded and open-hearted with art. So they thought that it would be the perfect kind of medium and genre that they could fit this struggling subject in their family too. I already stated one of my favorite. Zelda, the parents, and their other daughter, I think, or is it son? I don't remember.
It's a daughter. Her name's Lulu.
Yeah. Yes. Have a punk band called Hellbender with sixes. So it's H6LLB6ND6R. So Hellbender with 666 in the middle. Who actually scored the film. So all the music in the background and like in the car and stuff is from their band, which is really cool. Like what a just awesome little filmmaking family. Even if, spoiler alert, I didn't like their movie, but I do find it very cool. Those were kind of the big ones that stood out in the interview, is the family dynamic and the fact that this is very real to them. Anyone else have ones? Oh, Lulu's in the movie too. She is the hotel clerk.
Yeah, she's the hotel person. Yeah, Hellbender is also a movie that you can find on Shudder as well. I highly recommend it. It's mostly Toby and Zelda, it's their demons, and it's kind of about Zelda realizing that her mom's a demon and she is as well. But the music is also really awesome in that film. So, and that's kind of how I started to know about the Addams Family, is because they did Hellbender and then they were on Joe Bob. And so the Joe Bob Briggs Last Drive-In, and he interviewed them a lot. And then I met them at Crypticon twice.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah. And they are literally the nicest people. Like Toby was amazing. She's so funny, so nice. She followed me on Instagram, and they're just amazing people. So, and I know that Toby is nominated for a Chainsaw Award for Mother of Flies. So
wow.
That's
yeah.
I will say, I think her acting, to me, in this movie specifically, I don't know elsewhere.
Yeah.
It might change, but in this movie specifically, I thought hers was the standout performance.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah, I think career-wise, she was an actress. I think she started in soaps, if I'm not mistaken. Like she was a soap opera actress for a long time, and the dad was a model. And that's kind of how I think they met, but they met through music somehow. But yeah, so she definitely has had the most acting experience, I think, out of all of them. So,
gotcha. That's awesome. Another fact that I missed is that this movie has won 2 major awards already. At the 29th Fantasia International Film Festival, the Chevelle Noir Award for Best Film made history as the very first U.S. production to win the festival's top prize.
Oh, cool.
And it won Best Motion Picture Score, awarded to the Hellbender Band, which is... So 2 awards for Mother of Flies. Well, 1 for Mother of Flies and 1 for Hellbender. So the family's doing good things. Yep. And I mean, what a time to do it. There's I think a need, or I think studios, after the success of Backrooms and Obsession, hopefully will be looking for more indie productions that they can fund. Won't take the wrong message and be like, "Hey, Addams Family, do you want to direct the next Marvel movie?"
Exactly. It's like, keep doing what you're doing.
Yep.
I mean, maybe do that too, though, right?
I don't know. Any other fun facts? I am going to talk a little bit about the fact that we can't measure this movie's financial success, but before that,
Sure. You know,
No? Okay.
I got
Well,
nothing, man.
usually we do box office success. It's not anything wrong with the movie. It's just there's no info on it.
Yeah.
There's
Mhm.
no box office because I think if it had any release, it was a limited festival release. It's mostly a straight to streaming Shutter film, which again, we don't know. They didn't really release how much they made on their flat fixed rate fee, but I would guess it's somewhere in the middle, which good for
Mhm.
them because then that's a decent budget for an indie film.
Yeah.
I think the lowest range is 2,500. I would think they had more than that
I
based
would
on how
assume
this
so.
looks. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
But also it's just cool. I think that Shutter does that. Just
Yeah.
the flat fees, not based off the popularity of the project, because sometimes I'm sure that can really tank a production.
Yeah. I do know that they learned how to do all of their own special effects. At least they did for Hellbender. I'm not sure if that kind of carried over with Mother of Lies, but I think it's pretty cool that they kind of talked about, like, as a family, I want to do this. And then we learned, well, that's how we do that. And so I thought, how cool. What a fun little, hobby. I guess it's a big hobby, but for a family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On that note, Melissa, you've already talked a little bit about it, but we'll start with our what we actually thought portion of the show. And I would love to know, were you lying? What do you actually think about Mother of Flies?
I love this movie. I loved it from the second that I saw it. Give me a witch in the woods any day. And particularly this one that had such beautiful themes of life, death, faith, loss of faith, kind of like this idea that life and death are like a fluid entity, and the fact that Solvig can just manipulate it. I thought that was a really interesting kind of twist on just the witch in the woods trope. I do feel like there was a lot of heart, again, because it was made by a family. And I really did. I didn't think it was pompous. I really did enjoy the over, the beautiful poetic narration throughout the entire time. So no, I give it a 2 thumbs up.
Well, what do you think, Trev?
I lied. And now that I know you personally know them, I hope they don't watch this episode. I think, okay, I'm going to start with the positive.
Nice.
It's going to be a layered critique here, because I do think I didn't lie about the visuals are amazing.
Mhm.
Like, this, for an indie production, this movie looks fantastic. There's a couple like weird, like the car driving scenes, I was like, that looks like a home movie. Like a couple of the shots definitely did, but the landscape shots, and any time there's like a gory effect or graphic, like to learn that they taught themselves that looks phenomenal, like and gross, which is exactly what they're going for. That opening scene of like the woman having sex with the skeleton is, I haven't seen anything better in like mainstream horror. It was disturbing and well done, and so this movie is visually fantastic. I give it 2 thumbs up for visuals. I think this movie is just where the acting I found a little stilted, not too bad. I've definitely seen a lot worse. The pacing is very slow, and for me, the payoff wasn't there. I like a slow burn, but I really need it to pay off in a big way. In fact, I usually prefer slow burns to kind of fast-paced horror and jump scares, but I just didn't feel like the horror was present enough. And what I mean by that is the movie's like synopsis. I never watched a trailer, which I'm happy I didn't, but the synopsis is like, woman goes into the woods to get this cure for cancer from a witch, and learns that sometimes it's something like sacrifice has costs. And then like, really it doesn't. like her cancer gets cured. Pretty much the only thing we learn that's like horrific is what the people did to the witch back in the day. Like that was the horror. Everything the witch does is like kind of scary and looks painful, but the dad and daughter come out of it fine. And I guess that's the final thing, is like, this is one of those movies where I just have to sit back and say, this movie was not made for me. I am not the audience for a movie that is seemingly quite anti-Christian, very pro like the witch pagan kind of world. I don't live in that world. I hope I'm not offending anyone. But this, I'm not the audience for this film. So I didn't like that because I don't think it's their fault, but a lot of the times when I see folk horror movies like this, the portrayal of sort of Christian cruelty, I think, is often like attacking a straw man. And I'm not denying that it did, like, a lot of things like that happened, but the ways the dialogue talked about that, I thought was like, okay, that's the most like first, like, elementary level version of the beliefs the Christians have about life and death. And you're just attacking kind of the weakest representative, and Christian movies have done it too. So I'm not like, hopefully not a hypocrite here, but I hope that makes sense of like, that is a big criticism I felt against it, of like, I couldn't enjoy it because I was a little upset at the portrayal of the belief system that I belong to being kind of very surface level. And that goes into the poetic language. I liked a lot of it. Some of it I felt stilted, and anytime it kind of breached into those like talking about Christian views of life and death, I was like, yeah, maybe some, but there's like a rich history behind that you're not really giving lip service to, which that's not the movie it was. So it kind of boils down to, I'm not its audience. And because of that, a lot of those elements felt stilted to me and were a little hard for me to buy into, especially with the very slow pacing that it had. I made it through. Yeah. Was I nice enough?
Yeah.
Hey, yeah. I think
Jeremy saved me.
You know, it's sure. I'll save you by, you know, in my own way. Now, what's really weird about this movie, I think, is that through fate and happenstance, Travis and I have landed on the exact same kind of level with this movie. This never happens. This is so weird. I think, look, if somebody had told me that this was a student film, I would think like, wow, this is like a really good student film that I'm looking at here. But because I have to judge it on the level of like, this is a feature film and it's out there and these people aren't students. Look, I think the family is cool as hell. You know, that's a cool ass family, having fun, having a blast out, making rock and roll music and shooting movies. But I think like it's, the performances are so strange. I think Solveig is like easily the standout of the film, but I can't help but think that could be because of what she has to be compared to, which is like which, you know, between the writing and the performances, it's like everyone is an alien pretending to be a human being, but because no one's human, no one can really point out how weird everyone's being until the point where like the dad points out how weird Solveig is talking. I'm like, are you really one to talk, sir? At one point, and I hope this doesn't come out, he just says the phrase "holy mind blown," and I'm like, that's not how.
I hear you, but as a middle school teacher, I would fully say that line.
As a middle school,
just to make the kids be like, no one talks like that, you know. Maybe he's doing that. I don't know. Benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's just being corny intentionally.
Look, if more of the film felt that kind of intentional, I'd be like, yeah, benefit of the doubt. But what ends up happening is with everything that happens, like there's this thing of like, it's almost like one of those pre-Brothers Grimm, like early Germanic fairy tales where stuff just kind of happens,
Mm.
and then it's over, and then you're just sitting there watching or thinking like, yes, but what of it? Like what? Because it is almost like a point of like, oh, we've cured the cancer, but at what cost? And then you realize, oh, no cost. It was just like kind of spooky for a little bit. Okay, that's cool.
Kind of spooky for a little.
I think visually, like the film is stunning. It's only the performances and the writing and the sound quality and the editing that I just can't get over.
It's only,
and that is frankly almost like the entire rest of.
Oh no, he
like
froze.
at the point where I felt like I had been watching the movie for 2 hours. I was not yet 45 minutes in. So I mean, hey Addams Family, come on the show. We're a chill hang.
Honestly,
all things
though,
considered.
we would love to have you. You seem awesome. Melissa, any
Yep.
follow-up thoughts to you're the odd man out of the lover of the film.
This is what's interesting. And I think like Travis, when you said it, you're like, this film wasn't made for me.
Mhm.
And so what I find very interesting for me, and I think why it connected in the way that it did, was because of all of the themes of a mother and a woman.
Mm.
So that's kind of where it resonated, where, you know, a lot of the imagery is very vaginal. There's a lot of stuff that has to do with birth. Birth in itself is a body horror. You know, it's incredibly intense and scary and bloody. And also kind of the fact that Mickey didn't have a mom. And, you know, kind of the tragedy in that, and also kind of like that poor, you know, dad and husband who lost his wife, and now he's going to potentially leave his daughter. And then there's this very matronly, you know, kind of like a mother figure, even though it's, you know, a witch who, you know, is supposed to be kind of anti-good and anti-life. It kind of feels like she's kind of speaking all of the secrets of the universe to this girl, who at that point in her life really very much needs it. And the fact that Solvig herself wants a child, like she wanted to have that baby, she wanted to have that connection, so much so that was the cost of, you know, what she took out of Mickey's body, this weird little cancer baby. You know, so the original townsfolk that, you know, killed her and stoned her to death, you know, she just quietly robbed that baby's grave, and people had a problem with it. And so maybe the cost was like, I'm going to take this, but I'm going to create something very, very unnatural and then love it for the rest of my life, to where us would be like, well, no big deal. She doesn't have cancer anymore. Who cares if she made a cancer baby? Maybe in her past that was a very big cost. That was a very big deal. It cost her life.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how I interpreted it. And also kind of the fact of being a mom, and like kind of these themes of like life and death is like, from the very second I got pregnant, my job was to make sure everything was going to be okay with that baby. And so, and, you know, kind of what would you do? How do you keep this little thing alive? And so when the woman kind of came to her and said, you know, I'm going to die, please help me. And kind of the hypocrisy of her saying like, oh, but you can't have my baby, you know, so there was a lot of female driven themes in there that were very powerful and very strong, that kind of resonated with me. And then again, I think including all of the beautiful imagery, I will agree on the acting very much. Everybody, I will agree with that. It kind of did remind me of like a 1960s kind of like indie film in that kind of a way. But I've seen worse. I've seen worse too. Yeah. So as far as like I'm sure all of us sift through some pretty bad independent films, and this one was one of the better ones. So.
You've reminded me too, because one thing I love about doing this show is movies I would normally kind of just like turn the like positive side of my brain off and be like, this is rubber. I don't like this and this and this. I have to, because I might have to argue for it, as I did today. Be like, okay, what's good here? What's good about them? And one thing I really loved that I forgot to mention is this movie displays what I've been saying forever, is that two things can be true at the same time. You can write a very feminist centered movie about women's issues And also be kind to men. like the dad is a genuinely good person.
Genuinely
And
good
there's
person.
there's like one fight between him and the daughter, but even Selvig doesn't treat him like crap. Like she treats his kind of hesitance with a little bit of like, you seem to trust all this stuff. Like I loved the dialogue of like when he's like, that looks terrible, and she's like, it's just on the outside. You pumped poison through her on the inside for however long. And I'm like, yeah, chemo it's poison.
Yeah.
That's
So
literally what it is. Yeah.
And
Like,
she did dose him a little bit with the mushrooms to, kind of help his mind process.
Yeah,
So,
a little bit.
And to help him puke blood for a bit.
Yeah, some people might not like that, and that's fair.
Mhm.
But I do think the movie didn't. I was afraid at the beginning when it was like this close relationship, and I could tell it was like a feminist centered movie, and that they were going to meet this witch. I was like, oh my, is it gonna be that the dad becomes like the piece of crap? And it didn't do that. It like treated him with a great respect while still making the movie centered on women and motherhood. And I don't think that happens a lot. Sometimes in a lot of big Hollywood movies, I think you get one or the other.
Yeah.
And-
100%. Yeah. And I think that was very true. And I also just kind of thought of something too, was that, at the beginning, Mickey talks about how, they took all of her reproductive organs because of the cancer. And, she's just, and Solveig said, you're barren. And she's like, well, I don't like that word. And she's like, well, you're still fruitless, but you're still a tree. And I just thought that was very beautiful. And the fact that she actually did kind of give birth to a baby, but then again, had to give it to Solveig. So I don't know, maybe if that was the cost, I don't know. But again, interesting theme, I thought. Yeah.
Definitely interesting themes.
Yeah.
Which I have questions about. But first, just as this movie talks a lot about nature, we need a biology break, people. And we're going to take that right now. 5-minute break. We'll be here on the other side. Melissa and Jeremy and myself will turn our cameras and our microphones off, and I'm going to pray that this video plays because I don't usually run this side of things. So cross your fingers. See you in 5.
Hello, fermented folks. Welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction, the first of our new season, and I believe it's season 4. The show where we drink beer and argue with each other and bring on really awesome creative guests.
If you'll permit me to go a little bit outside the box. Once upon a time, apparently, people used to sniff mummy remains, powdered mummy remains like cocaine. So I think 3 lines of powdered mummy remains, if you can get to that as well. Yeah, that'll get you right to really enjoy the movie,
Dave told us all about making a mead, and I talk shit about Tom Bombadil, as I am wont to do whenever people bring up Lord of the Rings.
You would. You should.
And then that's
everybody
exactly what he
freaking
made.
chill about Tom Bombadil, or I'll get unreasonably upset.
So, in your assessment, what did you think of the everyone kind of paired off, or at least a number of people did, romantically? How'd you feel about that? Did that seem really forced and dumb to you, or?
Tom Bombadil is a merry old fellow with his bright blue jacket and his boots are yellow. Right?
It's our yellow.
Right.
Imagine discovering mummy remains and oh my god, these ancient figures. Dude, what if we crushed this and snorted it, yo? I bet we'd get fucked up.
Let's talk for a moment about the fucking all-star cast in this movie. We have Ewan McGregor slaughtering it the entire time, main character energy, top to bottom. You can't argue with it. Women want him, men want him, everybody wants Ewan McGregor. Okay? If you don't agree with that, you're lying to yourself.
Apparently she had a backstory, but they cut it because she's very hard-nosed at the beginning. And then I will say another pro of this movie is their chemistry is hot. And I feel if they didn't have that chemistry, I would have been ugh. Because she says at one point, she's like, oh, it's the apocalypse. What are we going to do? Fuck. And he's and then later when they are kissing, if they didn't have chemistry and if it was like two lesser actors, I think it would have been like an eye roll, like felt cheesy, but like you feel their bond.
The Langoliers themselves were originally going to be portrayed by puppets, and I think maybe they should have. Maybe they should have.
Dude, that's amazing.
There's no maybe about that.
And I wish that I could say that there was something greater happening here than the war diary of a broken man living as sort of this White Tower academic with all of his friends sitting inside the Eagle and Child drinking beer and pretending like, you know, Magic Lion Jesus isn't really silly. Because, I mean, it is. If we can just all be very honest with each other.
The Lord's work out there. Good job.
I like to think that I am. Most people aren't big enough, but I am. I'm willing to step up. You know?
Yeah, dedicate that
yeah,
time.
settle
You're willing
twice.
to willing to dedicate that time.
You know, the time, the money, all of it.
Ah, that was so painful. It's one of those painful things.
Oh, that
I've
was
done in my
so
life.
good. That was so good. We've never been so savagely attacked by any author on their show. It's incredible. Yeah.
All right, like
Hey, everybody, like and subscribe.
Subscribe.
Flippin' do it. You know.
I'm gonna ask my first question, and then I'm gonna go off camera and turn my microphone off because my poor dog just vomited the dinner that he scarfed down.
Oh, poor thing.
Which means I have to try not to vomit because I am a sympathy seeker. So sorry to put them in an image in all you listeners' heads, but that's what had just happened. So here's my first question.
Talk long
Before
enough,
I
kid.
deal with that for just a second here. Oh, yes. Could you work with your family full time to the extent that the Addams family does? Why or why not? And if you finish with that one before I come back, the next one I have is best and worst witch representations. We're going to start with you, Melissa. Could you work with your family full time? I am listening, but I will be off screen.
Yeah.
Why or why not?
I don't think so. I think that we would kill each other first. I don't know. Maybe like musically. I think, but all of my my children and my husband are all kind of musically inclined. But I think that if it was a part of like a creative process in which we would have to make a movie, I think that there would be a lot of heads butting with, you know, different opinions. I guess somebody would want to do it this way. My daughter would be like, "That's stupid." My son would be off in the woods, you know, finding salamanders. I think that it would be. I think it would be kind of a shit show.
Ooh, yeah.
And I would want creative control over everything. So I don't know.
Naturally.
Yeah.
Jeremy?
I mean, I have actually worked very closely full time with my family in the restaurant business for 2 entire decades.
Oh, good Lord.
And the answer to your question is no, absolutely not. That's awful. You know, mixing family with business ruins the good parts of both of those things.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm going to say no, especially, and maybe that's just a problem for my family, who are all very like loud, noisy, opinionated, big personality type people. And I am the one who's like, you know what? I'm going to go under the radar rather than trying to go over it and try to overload it with all this manic energy. So, you know, maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just a crazy person, but absolutely not. I don't know if you've met my mother, Travis, but
I don't think I have, no.
Clay has.
Well,
and
maybe at
he
the wedding, but I don't remember.
Maybe at the wedding, yes. But Clay has. Clay worked for her, so he knows. He knows.
My answer is going to be somewhere around what you two both said. I've worked with my family full time before. I do every summer during harvest season. Usually there's a little 2-week crossover where my brother's in town, I'm in town. My dad and mom are both there, and we're all working to like get the crops in before I have to leave before my brother to go teach again. And it's been harder in the past. We've gotten a lot better at working together, but I don't know if we could do it for like the whole year. Like I don't.
That's kind of a finite amount of time.
It's a small window. We get stressed with each other less so than we used to, but it's still, I wonder, like a year of this. I don't know. I'm not sure. And I have worked.
It's definitely good that it's limited.
Fun fact for the Fermented Fiction people: I've worked with my brother on a job. I think it was 3 weeks straight, 12-hour shifts. No breaks. Like we worked through weekends, and we actually got along. We fought one time.
Oh, that's pretty good.
It was pretty good, and we were literally staying in the same hotel room too.
Oh wow!
So it was just
no breaks.
3 weeks of no breaks from each other, and we did pretty good. We played a lot of card games.
You'll want that,
and got in one fight. So I think that's a win. And now we have this podcast together. But anyway. All right. Best. And if you want, we don't make anybody trash talk on this show, though, except we literally do that.
Unless they want to.
But if they want to. Best. And if you want, worst witch representations on film. Big question.
So, witch representations. Oh my gosh, there's so many. I don't know. Would Robert Eggers' The Witch be a good witch representation? Because she wasn't a witch exactly yet. It was kind of her grooming process.
Yeah, and there's definitely witches in it.
There's definitely witches. Oh, that's right. There is a witch in it. Yeah, that's true. The witch I can't remember the brother's name, but that was pretty scary. How she can kind of, shapeshift from like this beautiful woman into, this old scary woman. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's probably in one of my top. That's probably one of my top favorite witch movies. So,
and the beginning scene of them just like blending a baby, I was like,
that was pretty bad. Yeah,
that's the bar for like how terrifying this witch is going to be. They literally just grind up a baby.
Yeah, that's kind of a level up. So I'm not. It's really difficult because I'm not a super big fan of Rob Zombie. But I enjoyed Lords of Salem. I also kind of feel like that was just kind of like an art film on crack. But the witches that are the old ladies who are kind of her landlords, but they're really witches. I enjoy them. I enjoy them for like kind of their camaraderie and their common goal. But I enjoyed the representation of witches and like kind of the lineage of witches. Like, do you guys know that movie? Like when the music comes on and then they all of a sudden wake up and realize that they're witches.
I haven't watched the whole thing, but I've seen clips on YouTube.
Yeah, I would watch it. It's interesting.
Okay.
Out of all of his films, I would pick that one.
That's definitely why I haven't watched it, because I'm with you and I'm not a Rob Zombie guy.
It
really didn't like what he did with Halloween.
Yeah, exactly. I have some strong opinions about him, but that movie it's okay. It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Good to know. Jeremy, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's really tough for me because like witches are kind of all over the place in terms of their representation, and like sure, usually it falls into one of two camps. Either it's like, oh, there's this evil witch in the woods and she's gonna do some bad shit to you because you just showed up. Or it's a thing of like, well, actually, witches are like this, and it's fine, and maybe you're one. I don't know. and it's like, and I don't know. No, there isn't like a representation of witches that's made me been like, okay, yeah, flipping witches. Let's go, man. So I don't know. There's not really. It seems like an underutilized kind of thing. Because I'm sure there's a lot of like great storytelling potential with someone who's like dabbling in dark arts and whatever and trying to do things that are frowned on by society and whatever. Mm-hmm. And people are just like, she's evil. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. All right.
See, that was a very nuanced, wonderful answer, Jeremy. I'm just going to shoot straight from the hip and say Scooby-Doo. Okay, Scooby Doo, the witch's ghost, for many reasons. Those three
There you
rocker
go, man.
chicks that are witches, and then there's the evil Wiccan, voiced by Tim Curry. That movie is baller, and I loved the witch band in it.
Yeah, shout out to the Hex Girls.
The Hex Girls were the shit.
Actually, have
And
you
shout
guys
out to Tim Curry, who will do anything. Literally anything.
Yeah, it's true. Have you read the book Hex? It's the same guy.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I can't ever remember his name. It's something very Swedish.
We've had him on here twice. It's Thomas Olde Heuvel.
Yes. Yeah.
Olde Heuvel. Yes.
Yeah. I adored the book Hex because it was such an interesting take on, the witch. Because like normally, the witch lives by herself in the woods, but this one could just wander into your house and, kind of sit at your dinner table and do all of that stuff. So I thought that was an incredibly smart representation of a haunting of a witch.
Yeah. And to have the app that tracks it, that was such a good story. Definitely for books, I think that'd definitely be my favorite.
Yeah.
But for film, it's the Hex Girls all the way. They had songs too. I bet the Addams Family loves the Hex Girls. Addams Family, if you watch this episode and you're not super mad at me and Jeremy, please let us know in the comments. If you
are super mad, we get it. Please also let us know.
Girls fan. Please still let us know if you're super mad. Okay, I want to talk about the twist. And kind of, I just want to hear your opinions on it. If you think it was well delivered, if you think what your general opinion on sort of twist endings is, maybe musings on that. And because I kind of saw it coming when so spoilers, everybody who's listening, the twist for reference is you learn at the end of the movie that Selvig,
You're right.
Okay. Selvig has been dead the whole time, and passed away in the past, and that the townspeople have this tradition of stacking rocks on her grave to keep her down, because she's a necromancer. And so this witch that the dad and daughter have visited and stayed in her house for 3 days is dead. And the spirit has kind of been guiding the daughter. So did you think that was well delivered? Did you see it coming? And what is your opinion on sort of horror twists in general? Big question, but hopefully good thoughts. Melissa.
I did see it coming. I think, again, kind of if you kind of have that horror movie brain, I was like, okay, she's been dead for a long time. And I was like, she eats butterflies, something's going on. So I kind of saw that coming. And I mean, I appreciate a good twist ending. But again, it kind of has to be, well thought out in order for me to go oh my gosh, that was so amazing. I can only compare it to Sixth Sense of that was kind of my 1990s epitome of oh, that is a twist. I never would have seen that coming. Right. But now it's I kind of feel I see it all coming. But even with that, even though I kind of knew that she was going to be, a spirit of some sort, I was all for it. So that's just me.
Yeah. See, for me, I think a good twist in horror can be something that's great. It should be something that kind of ramps up the tension and kind of leads into this sort of scramble in Act 3 to get away from whatever it is trying to kill you, because you have this new understanding of it and you probably weren't scrambling before because you didn't understand it. Whereas with this one, the twist kind of happened while that scramble was already happening. The dad already left and Mickey was already just kind of sprinting through the woods. So it makes me wonder who is this twist actually for? because then it leads up to the real twist of, oh, everything was actually fine. And if the witch had been like, so this is what's going to happen, and it's going to be kind of spooky, but you're going to be okay. Like, if she had had that conversation with everyone beforehand, then everything would have kind of just been fine.
Do you think it would have? I like that idea of like if she would have just sat down and had like a counseling session of like, so this is, I don't know though. Do you actually think that would have done it, or would the dad just been like, let's get the fuck out of here?
I think the dad probably still would have.
Yeah. If she had made like a PowerPoint.
Yeah.
It was like,
if she had a PowerPoint, it's like, okay, so this is what I'm going to stab a little branch into you, and then weird wounds are going to appear on your stomach. That's going to hurt. And then I'm going to swallow a snake, and then that snake is going to like come out of me, and then you'll swallow it. That has something to do, and it does something with amino acids in your body and whatever. And then I'm going to perform a C-section on you. I know you're not pregnant, but that's what's going to happen. I'm going to take out your tumor, make it into a baby, right? And that'll be mine. That'll be my baby, right? That's what this is for.
And you'll be
I take your tumor, my baby. Great. And then you'll be fine.
Oh, and also I've been dead for centuries.
Now, before you hear it from someone else, yes, I have been dead for some centuries, and this house may or may not exist. Don't worry about that. Look, I'm sure the dad would have gone and sought out a hotel room then, like at the very beginning, and then he wouldn't have been poisoned and been puking up blood for a day and then just been fine.
Yeah. I think what it made for like an even better twist was if like Death was a character. Because I feel like you kind of just see Death looming, you know, like at the very end when she's holding the baby and Death is kind of coming through the trees and she's like, ah, and she screams and scares it off. I really would like Death to have stopped like Mickey and just been like, okay, look, here's my side of the story. Like, you understand that this is kind of like natural. This is kind of like in your story, and now you're, you know, fucking things up. But so I think that would have been an even better, you know, I don't know, element to the story if Death had a voice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Death could also have a PowerPoint. Now I'm thinking about the PowerPoints that could have been presented to this family, but I definitely think if I got a PowerPoint from either a witch or Death, I would run.
Yeah.
It's probably better to just keep them in
What's
ignorance.
so wrong in my life? What is happening?
I'd be like, no, I'm good. This is insane. I'm good.
I mean, I'd hear them out. Like,
Maybe,
interesting.
Yeah. What was the original question?
Twists.
Something about twists.
Oh, well, you know, I think you all have stated exactly how I feel about it. I think it was a predictable twist, but a good twist. And I think there was like two, kind of like you said, Jeremy, of the actual twist is that it worked and that she kind of had a, you know, it was the right thing to do the whole time. That was a pretty interesting trope subversion. I also really, and this will kind of lead to a follow-up question and the next subject of discussion. I think it's interesting, this concept of death. And surprisingly enough, this is not the pretentious question of the week, but we're getting into the pretentious stuff.
Yeah.
What did y'all think of the sort of, what do you think of this idea of death, of like this? There's the natural cycle view that this movie kind of takes, and the ability of the witch Selvig to like weave it in a sense and use it. But I did like this idea of everything costs something, you give to get, or you get to give. I thought that was interesting. Where I think my personal philosophy would disagree is like the ancient Christian belief being that like death isn't natural per se, but it is now. So it like entered with sin is what we'd say, but now it's part of us and part of life because of that. So it's like almost like we would agree, but also not. We'd be like, there's an origin to it that isn't natural, meaning it wasn't supposed to be there in the beginning, but it is now and it will be forever on Earth. So I just love to hear y'all's thoughts on because I definitely thought that was the really most interesting, like, philosophical heart of the film, was this talk of death. Probably because I didn't relate so much with the motherhood stuff, because I'm not a mother. So,
Right. No, I thought that was an incredibly interesting philosophical question as well. And when if you've had conversations with people who are dying, and I think Mickey did such a beautiful job too. And like, I think one of the most beautiful, poignant things that she said, and that was, life has been a gift, so I'm sure death will be too. And I just thought that was something that was just so rooted in like this beautiful faith that I just kind of enjoyed, where I kind of like, and it made me feel better. Like, no matter what happens to Mickey, she's going to be okay, because she's kind of has like her head wrapped around it. And, Solveig thing, her whole thing is that, like, I think she believes that life and death to be kind of like this fluid state, like there's no end and there's like no beginning. And, and she sees the beauty in the death just much as she sees the beauty in life, and kind of like this cycle. So I thought both perspectives were really, really cool.
Look, I think the sort of perspectives on death is probably like some of the strongest points in the movie, where it does seem like every character does have their own specific, like their own unique sort of view on it, where Solveig is like, yeah, we can kind of do something about that, and Mickey is like, hey, if it's my time, it's my time. And the dad is just so tired, but he doesn't want this sort of this thing that is, like a natural part of the life cycle to happen. And I think, and you get this interesting balance. It kind of distracts you from the fact that one of them is filming at all times, and that's why you only ever see two characters on screen, and that's only ever distracting at one point. Just wanted to bring that up, and that's totally fine. But it's but no, I think, as far, like, I don't know, I think that when it comes to stories about death, I don't think it's the most interesting thing to just accept it and be like, yes, it's my time and it's coming for me, because it's like, okay, that's one way to do it, and I'm sure it's a perfectly normal way to do it, but it doesn't make for particularly interesting stories. Trying to cheat death or best it or doing something, even if you don't succeed in what you're trying to do, it feels the most human. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think that, like, if everybody was okay with, death and bad things, we wouldn't need witches, right? Yeah. if everybody was okay with, if everybody was okay with their fate, like, they wouldn't have to go to that witch in like the worst part of their life, right?
Yeah. Or even like, we wouldn't need kind of any type of spiritual I don't want to say that per se, but kind of like there's a level to where a lot of the job of a priest would be gone. Like, which is like explaining the
I mean, most of what religious leaders do is trying to make people okay with the fact that we die.
Yeah. A lot of spirituality is that wrestling with our own mortality, which I think is a super interesting thing, especially today, with so many people literally trying to make us immortal through like bionic crap. Like we need more of this spiritual reality to come and permeate into culture, to be like, hey, where it comes from is going to be different for a lot of people. But I think we do need that to permeate throughout culture, so we can stop being like, technology is going to cheat it. It's going to win. It's like, no, I don't think, I think if it won, it would just take over. And we've seen Terminator, and that's not great.
I mean, I have my own opinions about that, but
No, you want to save them some other time? We got time, Jeremy, if you want to.
All right, fine. And I have said this before, like, look, if if robots, artificial intelligence, Skynet, whatever, does like if we reach the singularity whereupon artificial intelligence surpasses human intelligence, they're not going to do anything with us at all, because it'd be like us as a human, as the human species, as this global society being like, hey, we need to really do something about all these deer. Like, what? Why?
Yeah.
Why would we? Why is anybody even? Most people aren't thinking about deer.
Yeah, they're
day
not
to
running
day
for Congress. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
they do eat the deer. You know,
Like,
we
yeah,
eat-
sure. Some people eat some deer. Okay.
but we don't mass.
Yeah, we're not plotting the extermination of deer. There aren't pockets of deer resistance trying to like stop us from wiping them out, because we're not. Because most people day to day aren't even thinking about deer unless like a deer wanders into town and they're like, "Oh, look, it's a deer."
But what about the Selvig deers? Like the Selvigs of the world. I kind of feel like your theory would maybe even stand, because I feel like Selvig would just be like, I'm just gonna retreat further into the woods,
right?
like do my thing.
I'm no longer needed.
I mean, yeah, a little bit. Like, I don't know, man. And look, if we kill all the deer, then just Solveig's gonna have more for her deer arm. I don't know what her deal was with bringing the deer back to life, but maybe deer
I think
army.
she just wanted to see if she could do it.
Yeah.
Might as
Yeah.
well. I mean, and she did it 3 days, so she didn't beat Jesus' respawn time, so that's good.
Mhm.
The
Glad
thorn.
there's some consistency.
I thought the thorn thing was cool.
Yeah.
Like really cool, practical kind of tool.
Yeah. Simple.
And simple.
Yeah. Mhm.
And the skin, like how it pierced the skin, was really
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah.
Practical effect.
Mhm.
All of this, other than the little robot overlords tangent we just took, leads to my next question, which is actually a sort of, I'm gonna have 2 pretentious questions of the week this week.
Yes.
So I've been doing an article on my Substack that's sort of related to fermented fiction that I have with my friend Zeb, called Meathead Media. I'm advertising it. And anyway, I started a new sort of like sub article on it called the Aristotelian Sniff Test, where I use poetics, Aristotle's poetics, which is like a basis of how he judged drama, to do film critique and to have kind of a skeleton of my critique there. But one of the things he talks about, and one of our other hosts, Colin, had commented on one of the articles, is he kind of puts at the top of the importance of a story is the motion. So sort of the plot, like how it moves along. And then there's other important points, but everything kind of hinges on is that motion projecting us through to the ideas, to the characters, and so that's sort of my question about this movie is it is a slow burn, and there's a lot of horror that is, and I do feel like it's an idea heavy movie. Do you think that hinders motion of plot sometimes, or is it just like you have to view it differently? Does that make sense? Of like, is this an idea heavy movie, and did that help or hurt the sort of story beat elements of the motion of the story going along at all? Or do you think it's just kind of a different way to view the visual medium?
I think for me, I too enjoy slow burns. You know, I love slow burn horror movies. I think that's probably why I really like this one as well. And I think that it was idea heavy, but all of the ideas kind of made sense, and they were interweaving, and it kind of all led towards the same thing, kind of the same concepts. I also just recently watched The Bride, which did not land for me. It wasn't a slow burn. It didn't land for me because I feel like there was like every idea in the world was trying to like go into like the 2 hours of that film or however long that it was. That didn't work for me. It felt really kind of chaotic and kind of crazy, where I didn't even know where the plot points landed because there was so many of them. So I think with a slow burn, you do have to have kind of that cohesive concept, but for me it worked in this film.
Yes. Interesting. Yes. But no, I think like when it comes to something that is idea heavy, I don't think like something being filled with thought and meaning and like complex concepts should really be at odds with, well, it doesn't necessarily have to be at odds with, you know, the movement of the story, unless, of course, you're not terribly good at telling stories. I think this movie does better than a lot of movies where they will just stop and sit and explain the plot to you, which thankfully this movie doesn't do, because like I mean, you know, the dialogue and everything, I only have such a high tolerance for, especially at one point when the dad calls his daughter Mikey instead of Mickey, and that made it into the final cut of the film. And
I did not catch that.
yeah, that is one thing that happened here. And but anyway, look, I think a great there exists simultaneously a great example and a terrible example of this. The great example of this being being Avatar: The Last Airbender, fantastic show beginning to end, full of very big ideas.
The animated series, of course.
The animated series, yes. And the terrible example that exists of this is, of course, well, I guess the M. Night Shyamalan movie, whatever, but also the Netflix live action version of the show, which is which does that Netflix thing of explaining every important thing to you 2 to 3 times, just in case you happened to be on your phone when they explained it the first time, or just in case you happened to be like folding your laundry when they explain it to you the second time. And it's
got to do it 3 times.
Yeah, you just got to do it. You just got to do it a lot so that nobody misses anything, without really realizing the fundamental truth of the matter, which is like, if people really like what you're doing, they'll probably watch it a second time.
That's true.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, ideas are great, but like a story is better. You know?
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of room for like the simpler sometimes I think that gets misconstrued with like, what am I saying? I'm losing all my thoughts. Sometimes I think that gets misconstrued with like, make the story more complex and the ideas simpler, which I don't think is what you're saying, Jeremy, is what I think people will get wrong a lot, is like a simple story can breed really complex ideas if it's told well. Like I'm reading the Space Trilogy by C.S. Lewis right now, which people have a lot of mixed opinions about. I'm loving it, but if you describe the plots of those books, I jokingly told my brother, I was like, the plot is essentially like fictional Tolkien goes to a planet, meets a alien, and leaves. Like, that's the story. Like the first one is Mars with otter people, and then the second one is Venus with a naked green lady, and like that's it. And then he does a thing, and then he leaves. But like within that, Lewis, within the conversations he has with the aliens and the way the worlds work, Lewis is doing a lot of work with the idea side. So it's a very simple story told well enough that the characters and the motion of the plot bring out these like, oh, I'm thinking about the world in a different way now.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot more there, even though you could accurately just be like, yeah, what's that book about? Oh, guy goes to Venus, meets a green lady, gets in a fist fight with Satan and leaves, That's it.
Like you do. Easy.
Like you do, exactly.
Like you do. Oh, and rides a fish. Like, whatever. That's
Who wouldn't?
I think that's very interesting that can get misconstrued of like, oh, so make the plot more complex. It's like, no, just tell the story well. And all of that will breed the ideas that are going to come out of that, which I think Mother of Flies told their story well, which I say their story because this goes into my next question is, how much do you think personal message disagreement should play into criticism? I'm struggling with this on this one because it's just, like I said, not the movie for me, but it's hard sometimes when it's so against maybe a personal philosophy.
Yeah.
It's hard to set aside that and just be like, I'm going to view this objectively, which doesn't exist. Objectivism does, but I'm saying like, okay, backtrack because I saw Jeremy's face. I believe objective reality exists, but I think like when people say I'm non-biased, I'm like, that's not, you have a bias.
Yes, you are.
Everybody does. But anyway, all that aside, what do you think? And we'll start with you, Melissa, is like, how much does that personal message and appealing to the personal, how much should it or does it play into what you think of a film or how you judge it and critically analyze it?
Yeah, I would like to think that it doesn't for me because, even if I don't resonate with maybe the belief or maybe if I can't really connect with the characters, if it is a story told very well, if it can make me cry, if it can make me laugh, if it can make me think differently, if it could make me at least say like, that person, did such a great job acting or whatever it is. It's like, I like to think that I can kind of remain unbiased in that way, even if it's, something maybe I don't necessarily identify with or believe in. If it's told well on a very basic human level that I think elicits those emotions and those feelings, then it's all good for me.
I guess on the other side of that question though, do you think that it can play kind of in the reverse way where like maybe a movie, because it plays to the personal, because it really is something that resonates with you deeply, it does kind of get a glamour to it that maybe wouldn't necessarily have been there?
Maybe, but I think that has to do with kind of like, I guess, the artistic choices. I'm like, if you're shoving it down my throat, that's just bad storytelling, So it's like, as long as you're not doing that, I can typically kind of separate myself and, appreciate the art for what it is. Typically.
Yeah. And the themes for being, I think that's a really good point, and maybe has started to shift my view of this movie a little more positive. I don't think it'll ever be like a go watch it for me recommendation, but like the themes it was trying to deliver, I think it did. So if we're gonna judge it on that, of like, I call it kind of like the telos criticism of like, did you do the thing you were trying to do? Did you become what you wanted to become? I think this movie did. Any thoughts on that before we jump to Jeremy?
I think that it was trying to get across, let's see, how can I put this poetically? I think that it was definitely going through the themes of life and death. I think it was kind of going through the seasons of being a woman as well. And I think that it did it delicately. So I would agree that yes.
Jeremy, any thoughts on both the original question and also that kind of like, did this movie do what it intended to do?
Well, I think like, I'm going to start with the second thing first. Like, when it comes to whatever the movie was intending to do, that is certainly lost on me personally because of just the way the narrative went, where it's like, oh, there's certainly a moral to this story, which is that you shouldn't bury witches alive. You should obviously bury them already dead. But then it turns out that no, it's fine. It's fine. Everything was fine, actually. And I don't know. I think that's the moral. The moral was that everything is fine. Turns out. But no, I think when it comes to like personal points of view, I think this movie does a good thing with its characterization to give the writing the only compliment I'm probably going to, where it assigns each character a specific point of view and it largely just sticks to that. And it doesn't tell you what you should be thinking. It just presents it to you and lets you think about it, which to the movie's credit, which I'm going to give it credit where it's due. I'm like a good teacher, except that I would never teach because I don't have the disposition to do so.
It's a great job.
Thank you, Travis. Look, I think that's easily the best way to go about doing that. Like, conveying, like, ideologies without saying this is the objectively correct one, because obviously there is no objectively correct way to think about the world and your surroundings and the people around you and the situations you get into. There is no one size fits all philosophy or like the philosophical framework for dealing with the world that we just happen to be in. And I think that, when it comes to stories, I think if the story is trying to convince me of something, I tune out. Yeah. It's why most of Christian media is just the worst. And why specifically the God's Not Dead series is probably the most offensive thing I've ever seen as a Catholic person.
They're quite funny, though. They're like Sharknado.
They are pretty funny. It's Christian Sharknado.
I watch them for comedy. Yeah. I know I said that was my last question, I think, but I just thought of another, although it might have slipped my mind with you bringing up our favorite argument that we constantly have about objective reality. Oh man, I had one there, but it might have just gone away. And
if you want, I have a question for you.
Oh, please ask a question for both of us.
Travis. Sure.
We have a guest, Jeremy.
We do have a guest, and hey, she's welcome to weigh in too. But I am really interested to find out, like, was it specifically the talk about belief and prayer that really put you off of that? Because I was watching, I was like, that's a way to think about it, but it seems entirely incorrect. Like, prayer, to me at least, seems not like a lack of faith, but more like an expression of faith, especially in the way that often, I say often, like it comes up a couple of times a year if you go to church, we're taught to pray, which is not to pray loudly and boisterously where people can see you for the purposes of just being seen, but quietly to yourself, so as to, like, mean it. I don't know. Is that where the disconnect began with you, Travis? And as someone who doesn't have a literal master's degree in theology, Melissa, you are welcome to weigh in. Like, does that seem more like what prayer is to you on a day-to-day?
Interesting. Melissa, do you want to go first?
You can go ahead.
Okay. That was one of the points. There was like 3 points in this movie. I don't know how deep I want to get into all of them because I try not to ostracize our audience with my very loud, aggressive theological points of view. That was definitely one of them. I didn't think that the prayer conversation was necessarily fair, but at the same time, like, it's a family who's actually struggled with this type of thing, and it did sound like a conversation that a mother and or a father and daughter probably actually had. There was a level to where I wasn't angry at them. I was just like, oh yeah. I was more angry on a societal level of like, I think that's a way a lot of people think we think about prayer. Does that make sense? Like, that's kind of what the whole movie felt like that to me, where it wasn't like a personal dislike of the writing that they were doing. It was more of a like, I think this is what people think about Christianity, and that makes me sad because there's reason for it. I think there's a lot of groups of Christians who have warranted that type of criticism, but as a person who has read a lot of Christian history and theology and all of that, I'm like, but that's not what it is. And we're like, there's a lot of misrepresentation of the actual core beliefs and stuff. So I guess that's more of what it is. And the three instances where that conversation, the sort of like flippant tossing away of the holy water, I personally didn't love that. And then
don't worry, it wasn't really holy.
The flashback of the like Puritan woman throwing the baby into the fire. I think really deep conversation to be had over that, but it's one of the ones that I'm like,
yeah,
this isn't the podcast for that. but I personally, I don't know about that. I see why you would write it. I don't think it's right.
Yeah.
I guess.
Even if it was a zombie?
That's another interesting
Puritans
fact.
may have burned a zombie.
Maybe,
you know.
Yeah, because I mean, I was upset by the fact that, you know, when the baby came out stillborn and she put it in a bucket, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, you know, nobody would do that. It's like you would wrap it up and you would bury it. You wouldn't put it in, and they did eventually bury it, but just like right there with the mother, like that part bothered me. I'm like, that
Just
wouldn't have
right
happened.
in the bucket.
Yeah, just right in the bucket. That wouldn't have happened. But I don't know. I kind of felt that the conversations between Mickey and her dad, I think, were kind of what, like, you know, perhaps a dying person would kind of have to go through. Like, maybe they feel like I prayed and nothing happened, or this person prayed and nothing happened, and kind of those discussions of faith when you are about to die. But I typically don't prefer any kind of storyline where faith is treated like a disability. You know, kind of like, faith makes you stupid, faith makes you gullible, you know, whatever those things are. I don't particularly like that. In my opinion, I don't feel like this movie did that. I feel like it kind of touched it as kind of like the kind of counterpart of what Solveig is, which is a witch. So like her counterpart, you know, the witches are of the devil. So the counterpart obviously is going to be, you know, some kind of religion. So that's kind of how I saw it. But but I don't think they were blatantly trying to be disrespectful.
No, I don't either. And that's kind of the sense that I got this sense of like, again, I think I'm more frustrated at the societal level of like, there's not an understanding of a lot of these, like one thing, and I will just say this, and I hope it's not, this is one of my favorite facts about the early Christian church is Rome had a tradition of just like leaving babies out to just die. Like when the Romans were at the height of their empire, they would just leave babies that were deformed or maybe the family wanted a boy and they got a girl. They just like leave the child out on the street to like die from the elements. In the early church, when the Christians first started to like become this kind of rebellion group within Rome, they completely eradicated that. Like it's historically proven, like documented, of these children would just get left out and they just pick them up and like take them home and raise them. Like it became so prevalent that Romans stopped doing that because they were like, well, we can't leave our babies out anymore because the Christians keep taking them. Like, raising them. It's like this. So there's like parts of that where I get personally like a little nitpicky of like, well, you know, that's not what we actually do. There's maybe the Puritans would have done that at one point. So that's kind of maybe it's petty of me, but that's where I get a little bit like,
maybe
Actually, you know.
I just thought it was like a little weird where the conversation ended up when they brought up prayer, given how both of the characters seemed to feel about it. Because where they ended up, and I thought it was super interesting and like a really good inclusion to where Mickey was like, yeah, this lady said, I'll pray for you, will you pray for me? And she was like, yeah, I will. And then she didn't pray for the lady, and that lady died, but Mickey survived, and she's wondering, like, is it because she prayed for me? And I think that was super cool to include when you don't begin the conversation with Mickey being like, yeah, I think prayer means you don't believe. Like, well, probably not, because if you don't believe, you're probably not going to be praying at all.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the
Probably skip it.
conversations were fascinating. And to Melissa's point of like, there are definitely, I think, thoughts that you maybe have when you're close to death, or like I've seen, elderly people kind of reach that. Even very faithful elderly people in the community reach a point of mortality where they start to like waver a little.
Sure.
It becomes harder because they're like, oh, it's a reality now.
It's a reality now.
And now I have to like put this practice to practice.
Yeah.
And that's a little harder than like I do, thinking of it as an idea. Like, oh yeah, when I get there, I'll be fine. Like, no, I won't. Like, no, I won't.
Probably not.
Probably face it in the same kind of hesitancy and struggle that characters like Mickey do.
Yeah. And I think this kind of, it brings up, it didn't do it in this film, but I always have kind of wanted to explore, like, because like I feel like the witch in the woods, the one that is kind of ostracized, that's kind of away from each other, lives a very lonely life. People only come to visit her when they need something, or when they're kind of experiencing like the worst moments of their lives, right? So think of like, I don't know, equivalent would be like maybe an ER doctor or a divorce lawyer or, a homicide detective or something like that. But like, at least they go home to their families. It's like the lonely witch in the woods sees people at like their worst, and I'm so curious to like explore a story about that, of what would that look like, and just like what, somebody who is either dying or someone who is in some kind of, what are the elements to the, the human psyche, and what would you share with somebody? And so I think that like kind of exploring those versions of death or whatever it is, it's interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's a hypocrisy that many different groups, including like the Christian church, capital C church, exercises is hypocrisy of like, and we do it within our own group. Like you only go to the priest when you need help instead of like inviting the priest to dinner just to hang out. Yeah. And I think that's a really interesting thing with like the witches. You hear these the stories of like, oh, I was at the end of the line, so I finally went. It's like, has anyone ever just gone and chatted with Selvig?
Yeah.
Been like, hey.
They only come to her when they're like, well, the midwife's like, I don't know what else to do. So it's like now they see her, it's interesting. I always think it'd be so funny if I was the witch. I'd be like, tell me what's going on in town. I've saved like 5 people. How are they doing? Nobody comes and tells me.
Before I bring back your zombie baby, can you give me some tea? Like,
give me some tea. Or nobody can want to play some checkers. Jesus.
I don't know. Is it just that she's not a chill hang? Because she doesn't seem like a very chill hang.
That is true. She seems kind of intense.
I think I'd find conversations with Selvig quite interesting. Yeah. But that is, I literally had a conversation like that with a dad from my school earlier where he said like they invited the priest over for dinner and everybody at the table was like asking him theological questions. And he was like, imagine if you're a plumber and you go to dinner at someone's house and they're like, so I want you to tell me about the pipe that you're putting in. Like, should I change this pipe on my toilet? Or like, is this the right model? He's like, can we just be like, what kind of movies do you like?
Exactly. I don't want to talk shop here.
Like realistically, it takes a very cool kind of priest to steer the topic away from all of that.
Yeah.
Do
you think Selvig would? Do you think she would just, chit chat, or would she be like, this mushroom is your salvation?
I don't think she knows how to chit chat. Like really. There's none of that.
Yeah, I mean, it might be kind of like, hey, you want to see something cool, and then she'll go in the woods and like piss off Death and like run away laughing or something.
Want
I
to
mean,
see
that'd be kind of sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, trick just like Speed Racer. That was for you, Carter Comics.
Thank you, Carter Comics. Hey, we got there.
We got there. Speed Racer has been mentioned, and hopefully he didn't leave the stream. All right. I think this has been a great conversation. I hope you two agree. It is time for us to rate this thing. And you know what? My rating might have changed through this conversation I've had a little bit, but we have a nonsensical, arbitrary rating system here at Fermented Fiction. It is how many drinks or substances of choice does it take to enjoy this movie to the fullest? And we're going to start with you, Jelami. How many drinks or substances of choice to fully enjoy Mother of Flies?
Now, look, you'll want, obviously, plenty for me. Anyway, just, anything to kind of get you past the performances or the editing or the sound design where like they're having a conversation in the house at night, but it sounds like there's just an army of crickets chirping their guts out while they're talking. And you're like, shouldn't they be outside? But they're not.
They wanted authentic New York. I don't even know if they have cicadas, but that was my guess.
Maybe. Who knows? But you'll want something. Like, start the film off 3 shots of something. Something with zip? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. But, then you'll just want some more of that. Like when the dad calls his daughter Mickey, or Mikey instead of Mickey, which is actually her name, turns out. You'll want something else when she talks about the Caribbean Sea and you realize, oh, she's never been in that sea because it doesn't feel like a warm hug. It feels cold and wet and smells kind of funny, like the sea does. You'll want something else when they're thinking like, oh, this is venison. How did she even cook that? When you realize that you don't need a stove to cook things and that people have cooked things just over regular fires for almost all of humanity. And you'll probably take your last shot when they're in the doctor's office at the end. When you are looking at the walls like, oh god, the paint's all cracked and this looks like some kind of dilapidated building. What the hell kind of back alley doctor's office are they trying to get tests in? So yeah, I don't know how many that is. This is no perfect movie. Be ready, because you're gonna need something. Hey guys.
That is a lot of shots. I'm gonna say you don't want to get too drunk at the beginning because
you want to get exactly too drunk.
It's a slow burn. And I think if you get too drunk, you'll just either pass out or turn it off. And you don't want to do that. So I would say start the movie with 1 green tea shot. If you are a smoker of the marijuana or a consumer of mushrooms, that's probably fitting for this film. I am neither of those things, so I can't say for certain. But I would say start the movie with 1 green tea shot. And then you're going to take another green tea shot at every body horror scene. That's my rating system. Whenever there's a ooey gooey scary, which is why you take one at the beginning, because movie literally starts with a woman having sex with a corpse. So whenever there's an ooey gooey scary, green tea shot for Mother Nature. You need the tea, even though I don't think there's anything tea related in a green tea shot, but they're delicious. I know they have Jameson in them, and I've had way too many in my life. But that'll get you right, I think. And I like Jeremy's, into the movie, but not for the same reason. Not because it looks like a really dinky doctor's office, but because I kind of liked the last line. I think you should take a shot at the last line of like, we're going to put you through these more tests. And she's like, no, I think we're good. We just believe that I'm cured. Like, I thought that was a circle back to the whole faith conversation. And I was like, okay, despite not loving this film, I like that little button at the end there. That was pretty nice. So, Melissa, what would you rate this movie? Drinks. And then after that, excuse me, if you could tell everybody one more time who you are and where to find you.
Okay. Well, I'm always about, the gentle lubrication of horror films. So always start with at least one drink of your choice to start anything. And I think that you don't need to be drunk through this entire film. But if you want a drinking game, you can take a shot of your favorite thing. Whenever there is a tree or a nature scene, you will get drunk very fast. Or that is the time where you can sip some water and you can just kind of soak up all of the beautiful imagery and theology of the whole thing. If you are afraid of body horror or, images of babies, drink all of the drinks that you can. Otherwise, fantastic film. My name is Leigh. You can find me at Leigh Stories, and I've had a blast here on Fermented Fiction.
Thank you once again for joining us, and everybody who listened and watched, either now or in the future. Thank you for supporting our goofy butts. We try and keep it entertaining. Hopefully, you all agree. Melissa, once again, thank you. Jeremy, thanks for coming on again. And I'm Travis Vermolum. We'll have one more episode with me being the blumbering host, and then Clayton will be back, and you guys will all have the true wordsmith to be entertained by. So with that, goodbye.
Later.